You may have everything people say you should want: a good job, a safe home, comfort, respect. From the outside, your life looks perfect. But inside, there is a quiet feeling, a hollow space, a sense that something is missing. And you ask yourself, why do I still feel empty? This feeling is more common than you think. And it does not mean you are broken. It means you are looking in the wrong place. Stoic wisdom teaches a simple truth: a full life is not built from what you have, but from how you live. Emptiness often begins when your happiness depends on things you cannot control. From a young age, you are taught to chase results: success, money, recognition, and approval. These things are placed in front of you as proof that life is going well. You work harder, aim higher, and push yourself forward, believing that once you reach a certain point, satisfaction will finally arrive. But the problem is not effort itself. The problem is attaching your inner peace to outcomes that do not belong to you. There are many things in life that move without your permission. Other people's opinions change. Opportunities appear and disappear. Luck shifts without warning. Even your own body ages and weakens over time. When your sense of worth depends on these unstable things, your mind is forced to stay alert at all times. It becomes anxious, always waiting for the next change, the next loss, the next judgment. This constant tension slowly drains you, and what remains feels like emptiness. You may receive praise today and feel uplifted, then feel invisible tomorrow when the praise stops. You may reach a goal you worked toward for years, only to feel strangely hollow once it is achieved. This happens because external rewards can never provide lasting fulfillment. They are temporary by nature. When they fade, they take your sense of meaning with them, if that is where you placed it. Stoic thinking teaches that peace comes from focusing only on what is truly yours. Your thoughts are yours. Your choices are yours. Your actions, intentions, and effort belong to you. Everything else is borrowed. When you forget this, you begin to live as if the world owes you certain outcomes. When reality fails to meet those expectations, disappointment grows and emptiness follows. Chasing what you cannot control also weakens your sense of direction. Instead of asking, am I acting with honesty and courage? You begin to ask, am I winning? Am I admired? Am I ahead of others? These questions pull your attention outward. Your life becomes a reaction to the world rather than a reflection of your values. Over time, this creates a gap between who you are and how you live, and that gap is often felt as an inner void. The mind becomes restless when it tries to manage things beyond its reach. You replay conversations, worry about future outcomes, and imagine how others see you. This mental noise leaves little room for clarity or calm. Even when life looks successful on the surface, inside you feel scattered, unfocused, and disconnected from yourself. When you chase control over outcomes, you also lose appreciation for the present moment. You are always waiting for the next achievement to justify your happiness. Today is only a stepping stone, never enough on its own. This habit trains the mind to overlook what is already here. Gratitude fades and emptiness takes its place. Letting go of control does not mean giving up effort. It means placing effort where it belongs. You commit fully to your actions without demanding a specific result. You act with care, discipline, and integrity, then accept whatever follows. This shift brings relief because your sense of worth is no longer held hostage by forces you cannot command. When you stop chasing what lies outside your control, your energy returns to you. Your mind becomes quieter. Your actions feel cleaner and more deliberate. You no longer feel pulled apart by expectations that change with every situation. The emptiness begins to soften, not because you gained more, but because you stopped giving your peace away. A life can look perfect and still feel empty, because appearance is not the same as meaning. Many people build their lives by following a script they did not write. Study hard, get a good job, earn money, build comfort, gain respect. When these boxes are checked, others see success. But meaning does not come from checking boxes. It comes from living in alignment with what truly matters to you. You can be busy every day and still feel lost. Your calendar may be full, your responsibilities many, your achievements visible, yet something inside feels untouched. This happens when your actions are driven by expectation rather than purpose. You do what is required, not what is chosen. Over time, This creates a quiet disconnect between your outer life and your inner values. Stoic thinking reminds us that a good life is not measured by status or possessions, but by character. If your days are spent chasing comfort, praise, or comparison, the mind never rests. You may succeed in the eyes of others, but success without direction feels empty. It lacks weight. It lacks depth. A perfect-looking life often leaves no room for reflection. You move from one task to another, one goal to the next, without stopping to ask why. When life becomes a series of obligations, you forget your own voice. You lose touch with what you believe, what you stand for, and what kind of person you are becoming. This loss of inner connection is often experienced as emptiness. Meaning requires intention. It asks you to decide what is worth your time, your energy, and your attention. Without this choice, life becomes reactive. You respond to demands, trends, and pressures instead of guiding yourself. Even comfort can feel heavy when it lacks purpose. Ease without direction dulls the spirit. A life that looks perfect can also protect you from discomfort, and discomfort is often where meaning grows. When everything is smooth, you are rarely tested. Without challenge, you do not discover your strength. Without resistance, your values remain unproven. Comfort may keep you safe, but it also keeps you shallow. Stoic wisdom values a life guided by virtue, not convenience. Acting with honesty, fairness, discipline, and courage gives structure to existence. These qualities turn ordinary days into meaningful ones. Without them, even great success feels fragile and hollow, because it rests on things that can be taken away. Another reason a perfect life feels empty is comparison. When your goals are shaped by what others admire, your satisfaction is never secure. There will always be someone with more, someone ahead, someone praised louder. Measuring yourself this way keeps you trapped in constant dissatisfaction. Meaning cannot grow in comparison because comparison has no end. When you live without clear values, pleasure becomes a substitute for purpose. Distraction fills the gaps where meaning should be. Entertainment, comfort, and escape keep the mind occupied but never fulfilled. Once the noise fades, emptiness returns. Stronger than before, meaning is not something you find at the finish line. It is created through daily choices. How you speak, how you act, how you respond to difficulty. When these actions align with your values, life feels grounded, even when it is imperfect. Without that alignment, even a flawless image leaves you feeling unseen by yourself. A perfect life on the outside can be a sign that you have been avoiding the harder questions. What do I stand for? What kind of person am I becoming? What is worth enduring pain for? When these questions go unanswered, the mind feels untethered, no matter how stable life appears. Comfort becomes dangerous when it turns into the main purpose of life. At first, comfort feels like a reward. You work hard, remove difficulty, and create ease. There is nothing wrong with rest or stability, but when comfort becomes the goal instead of a tool, it slowly weakens the inner self. Life becomes about avoiding discomfort rather than growing through it. When everything is easy, the mind grows passive. You stop testing yourself. You stop asking more from your character. Without challenge, your abilities stay unused, and unused strength fades. This is not always noticed right away. On the surface, life feels smooth. Inside, there is a quiet dullness, a sense that you are capable of more, but never called upon to prove it. Stoic thought teaches that struggle is not an enemy. It is a teacher. Difficulty reveals who you are. Pressure shows your discipline. Loss tests your patience. Without these experiences, virtues remain ideas instead of habits. A life built only around comfort never gives virtue a chance to form. Comfort also narrows your tolerance for pain. Small problems feel overwhelming because you are no longer used to resistance. Any disruption feels unfair. This makes the mind fragile. A fragile mind is constantly seeking safety, and safety alone cannot satisfy the human spirit. The need to feel capable, resilient, and strong remains unmet. When comfort dominates your choices, you begin to avoid anything that demands effort. Hard conversations are delayed. Responsibilities are shifted to others. Growth is postponed for later. Over time, this avoidance becomes a habit. You trade long-term strength for short-term ease, and the cost is meaning. A life without challenge often leads to restlessness. You may have everything you need, yet feel bored and unfulfilled. This is because the human mind is designed to overcome, not only to consume. When there is nothing to work toward, nothing to endure, energy turns inward and becomes dissatisfaction. Stoic wisdom respects voluntary discomfort, choosing to wake early, to train the body, to control desires, to act with discipline, even when it is uncomfortable, strengthens the inner self. These small hardships build confidence that cannot be taken away by external change. Comfort alone cannot offer this security. Another danger of comfort is dependence. When your peace depends on ideal conditions, you become anxious about losing them. You protect your lifestyle instead of developing your character. Fear replaces courage. Caution replaces action. The more comfortable you become, the more fragile your peace feels. Comfort can also blur your sense of purpose. When life revolves around ease, decisions are made based on what feels good now rather than what is right. This weakens self-respect. Deep down, you know when you are avoiding effort. This quiet awareness creates inner conflict, which often appears as emptiness. Hardship gives life contrast. Without it, joy feels shallow. Achievement feels unearned. Growth feels absent. Stoic thinking does not praise suffering for its own sake, but it recognizes that resistance is necessary for strength. Just as the body grows through strain, the mind grows through challenge. When you accept difficulty instead of escaping it, you reconnect with your potential. You feel alive in effort. You regain respect for yourself. Comfort has its place, but it cannot be the foundation of a meaningful life. A spirit that is never tested never knows its own depth. Being busy can feel like progress, but movement is not the same as direction. Many people fill their days with tasks, meetings, messages, and responsibilities, believing that constant activity means their life has value. The mind becomes used to motion, always doing something, always responding. But when the noise stops, a strange emptiness appears, because busyness can hide the absence of purpose. You can wake up early, work all day, and fall asleep exhausted, yet feel no closer to a meaningful life. This happens when your actions are driven by urgency instead of intention. You react to demands placed on you by others, by habits, or by fear of falling behind. Over time, you lose the ability to choose how you spend your energy. Stoic thinking teaches that time is one of the few things truly given to you, and wasting it does not always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like constant work with no clear aim. When every task feels equally important, nothing feels meaningful. You stay occupied, but you are not fulfilled. Business often becomes a shield. It protects you from silence, reflection, and uncomfortable questions. As long as you are busy, you do not have to ask whether your life aligns with your values. You do not have to face dissatisfaction. Activity becomes a distraction from deeper thought. When your life lacks purpose, the mind feels scattered. You jump from one task to another without a sense of completion. Even achievements feel empty, because they are not connected to a larger direction. Purpose gives weight to effort. Without it, effort feels draining rather than strengthening. Stoic wisdom values deliberate action. Acting with intention means knowing why you do what you do. It means choosing fewer things and doing them well, rather than many things without meaning. A purposeful life is often simpler, not fuller. Business also creates the illusion of importance. When you are always needed, always responding, always solving problems, you feel valuable. But this value is fragile. The moment the demands stop, your sense of worth collapses. Purpose, on the other hand, comes from within. It does not depend on constant stimulation. A busy life often leaves no space for reflection. Without reflection, mistakes repeat. You continue patterns that no longer serve you. You become efficient at things that do not matter. Over time, this creates frustration and inner fatigue. The Stoic approach encourages pauses, not as weakness, but as clarity. Stillness allows you to examine your actions, your motives, and your direction. Without these moments, life becomes a blur of activity with no memory of meaning. When you confuse business with purpose, you give your time away too easily. Others decide what fills your day. Urgent tasks replace important ones. You feel needed but not fulfilled. This imbalance slowly drains your spirit. Purpose brings order to life. It helps you say no. It helps you endure difficulty because you know why you are enduring it. Business offers no such strength. It only keeps you occupied. A purposeful life does not require constant motion. It requires alignment. When your actions reflect your values, even quiet days feel meaningful. Without that alignment, even the busiest life feels empty. Attachment is one of the quietest sources of inner emptiness. It often hides behind love, ambition, and desire. You attach yourself to people, outcomes, identities, and moments, believing they must remain unchanged for you to feel whole. At first, attachment feels comforting. It gives a sense of stability. But because everything in life is temporary, attachment slowly turns into fear. You become afraid of losing what you hold on to. You worry about change. You resist reality when it moves in a different direction than you hoped. This resistance creates tension in the mind. The more tightly you cling, the more fragile your peace becomes. Even when things are going well, there is anxiety beneath the surface, waiting for something to shift. Stoic thinking teaches that nothing external truly belongs to you. People can leave. Success can fade. Health can change. When you forget this, attachment grows into dependence. Your happiness begins to rely on conditions you cannot guarantee. This dependence is exhausting. It forces the mind to stay alert, guarding against loss that cannot be prevented. Attachment also shapes identity. You begin to define yourself by roles, achievements, or relationships. When these change, you feel lost. Without them, you do not know who you are. This loss of identity feels like emptiness because the self was built on unstable ground. When you are attached, you experience life through fear rather than acceptance. Joy is mixed with worry. Love is mixed with control. Success is mixed with anxiety about maintaining it. Nothing is fully enjoyed because you are already thinking about how to protect it. Stoic wisdom does not ask you to detach from life, but to detach from the illusion of permanence. You are encouraged to appreciate what you have without demanding that it last forever. This shift brings calm. You stop fighting reality. You allow life to move while you remain steady. Attachment also limits growth. When you cling to who you used to be, you resist becoming who you could be. Change feels like loss instead of evolution. You hold on to familiar patterns even when they no longer serve you. This creates stagnation, which often feels like emptiness. The fear created by attachment narrows your world. You avoid risks. You avoid honesty. You avoid situations that might challenge what you are holding on to. Over time, your life becomes smaller, safer, and less meaningful. Letting go does not mean losing love or ambition. It means loving without possession and striving without desperation. When you act without attachment, you are free to give your best effort without being destroyed by the result. This freedom restores inner balance. Attachment also fuels comparison. You measure your life against others to protect your sense of worth. You fear falling behind or losing status. This constant comparison feeds insecurity and dissatisfaction. When you release attachment, you gain resilience. Loss still hurts, but it does not define you. Change still challenges you, but it does not empty you. Your sense of self becomes rooted in your character rather than in what you hold. Emptiness fades when you stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world. Acceptance replaces fear. Presence replaces control. The mind rests not because it owns life, but because it understands it. Peace comes from focusing on what you can control. Much of human suffering arises from trying to manage what cannot be managed. You worry about the future, about how others see you, about outcomes beyond your influence. This constant striving for control over the uncontrollable drains the mind and leaves a quiet emptiness, even when life appears outwardly fine. The energy you spend trying to shape what belongs to someone else, or to chance, is lost to you forever. From a practical standpoint, what you control is limited to your thoughts, your judgments, and your actions. You can choose how you respond to events, how you treat others, and what values guide your decisions. These things are entirely yours, unborrowed and unshakable. When you center your attention here, life becomes steadier. You stop chasing illusions and begin building a mind that is resilient and unshaken by external chaos. Trying to control the uncontrollable also leads to frustration. People may act differently than you expect. Circumstances may change unexpectedly. Efforts may fail despite your best intentions. When you have invested your sense of happiness in outcomes outside your control, each failure becomes more than disappointment. It becomes a wound to the self. You feel empty because you gave away your peace to forces that could never guarantee it. Focusing on control also clarifies priorities. When you accept that you cannot dictate every event, You can place your energy where it is effective. You learn to work on yourself, to refine your habits, to act according to reason and virtue. This redirection is liberating. Instead of being pulled by the whims of the world, you move forward deliberately, guided by choices that are genuinely yours. Peace arises not from passivity, but from disciplined effort. Choosing to act wisely within your sphere of control strengthens your mind. When you respond to difficulty with calmness instead of panic, when you uphold integrity even when unnoticed, your inner state grows firm. The sense of emptiness decreases because your life is no longer dependent on conditions beyond your reach. You are no longer at the mercy of change or opinion. Control also teaches acceptance. You cannot command every moment, but you can command how you meet it. Accepting what you cannot change does not mean resignation. It means seeing reality clearly. Resistance against what is inevitable only multiplies suffering. When you understand the limits of your control, you stop wasting energy on futile struggles and redirect it toward meaningful action. The mind trained in control also cultivates gratitude. When external events are accepted rather than demanded, ordinary moments become sufficient. A simple meal, a quiet conversation, a calm morning. These things are no longer taken for granted because you no longer expect everything to conform to your desires. Satisfaction grows from alignment with your own values, rather than from the fickle approval of circumstances. Loss and failure also lose their power over you when you focus on what you can control. If someone criticizes you, it matters only how you respond, not the opinion itself. If a project fails, your responsibility lies in the effort you gave and the lessons you take, not the outcome. This perspective removes the hollow feeling of helplessness and replaces it with steady confidence. When you make peace with control, you begin to live fully in the present. Anxiety about the past or future diminishes because your attention is centered on what you can influence here and now. Action becomes purposeful rather than reactive, and life gains a clarity that is impossible when energy is scattered across uncontrollable events. Ultimately, the emptiness that comes from chasing what cannot be controlled fades as you embrace responsibility for your own mind and actions. Your inner world becomes a place of stability, unaffected by the shifting tides outside. By focusing on what is yours, your thoughts, your choices, your integrity, you build a life rooted in calmness, resilience, and quiet fulfillment. Virtue is the foundation of a meaningful life, yet many people overlook it while chasing wealth, status, or comfort. Virtue is not something you earn from the world, it is something you build within yourself. Acting with honesty, courage, self-discipline, and fairness gives life structure and direction. Without virtue, accomplishments and possessions feel hollow because they are not anchored in what truly matters. The emptiness that follows success often comes from neglecting the inner life while focusing only on external achievements. Living with virtue means aligning your actions with your values consistently, even when it is difficult. It is easy to act rightly when life is smooth and rewards are obvious. The real test of virtue comes when your choices bring no praise, create discomfort, or require sacrifice. Choosing honesty when lying is easier, kindness when it costs something, or patience when anger urges a quick reaction shapes character in ways that external success never can. Each virtuous act strengthens the mind and steadies the spirit, creating an internal source of fulfillment that external circumstances cannot remove. Virtue also protects you from the fluctuations of life. Wealth can be lost, status can fade, comfort can vanish, but the qualities you cultivate, courage, self-control, wisdom, remain with you. They are under your control, and they form a stable foundation for contentment. When your happiness is rooted in virtue rather than in external gain, you experience resilience. Challenges no longer shake you as profoundly because you have cultivated strength from within. Many people pursue recognition or praise as a measure of their worth, but these are unstable and fleeting. Acting with virtue means letting go of the need for approval. When your actions are right, their value does not depend on who notices or applauds. This independence brings a deep sense of inner peace. The mind is no longer tied to external judgment, and emptiness begins to dissolve because fulfillment comes from self-alignment rather than external validation. Virtue is also inherently purposeful. It gives clarity to daily choices, When your actions are guided by values, decisions become easier because they are measured against an internal standard rather than shifting circumstances. You no longer waste energy on trivial distractions or temporary pleasures. Each action becomes meaningful, each day becomes productive in a deeper sense, and your life gains coherence. Without virtue, even busy or successful days feel fragmented and unsatisfying because there is no internal compass guiding them. Cultivating virtue requires practice and reflection. It is not enough to think about being honest or courageous. These qualities must be exercised daily. Each small decision is an opportunity to strengthen character. Resisting temptation, speaking the truth, acting fairly in small matters, and keeping commitments all build the muscles of virtue. Over time, these habits create a mind that is steady, a spirit that is resilient, and a life that feels intrinsically meaningful. Virtue also deepens relationships. When you act with integrity, others trust you. When you act with kindness, others feel safe and supported. Relationships based on virtue are not dependent on appearances or fleeting emotions. They are rooted in the consistent reliability of character. This kind of connection nourishes the mind and heart, filling spaces that wealth, comfort, or status never can. Without virtue, life becomes a series of transactions, seeking gain and avoiding discomfort. With virtue, life becomes a practice, a daily cultivation of strength, wisdom, and moral clarity. It shifts focus from chasing what is external to building what is internal, creating a lasting source of fulfillment that no circumstance can take away. Letting go of approval and returning to what truly matters is one of the most difficult yet liberating steps toward a fulfilled life. From a young age, you are conditioned to seek the approval of others. Teachers, parents, peers, society itself reward you when you behave in expected ways and criticize you when you do not. This creates a subtle dependence on external validation. You begin to define your worth by how others see you, rather than by how you live. Even when your life looks perfect on the outside, this reliance on approval can leave a hollow space inside. Seeking approval makes your mind restless. Every action is measured against an imagined standard, and decisions are influenced by fear of judgment, rather than by your own values. You work hard to fit in, to impress, to be liked or admired. Even small successes feel incomplete if they go unnoticed. Over time, this constant attention to perception erodes inner peace, because true satisfaction becomes dependent on things you cannot control. Stoic thought emphasizes that your focus should remain on what is within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your character, these belong to you. How others react does not. When you base your happiness on approval, you are giving away control of your own life. You hand over the key to your inner contentment and tie it to forces outside yourself, which inevitably leads to emptiness when they shift. Returning to what truly matters requires clarity about your values. It means identifying what is essential, what aligns with your purpose, and what contributes to the life you wish to live. When you act according to these principles, you find fulfillment that does not rely on applause or recognition. Each day becomes meaningful because your actions reflect your own standards, not someone else's expectations. This internal guidance frees the mind from constant comparison and worry about perception. Approval also distorts priorities. When your decisions are influenced by others' opinions, you may choose tasks, goals, and paths that are not genuinely yours. You may sacrifice your own desires, needs, or principles to maintain the image others expect. Over time, this disconnect between inner intention and outward action creates a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Life can appear successful, yet you feel unseen by yourself, hollow in ways that comfort, wealth, or status cannot fill. When you let go of approval, your energy shifts inward. You spend less time performing for others and more time cultivating your own mind and character. You act with honesty and courage, guided by what is right, not by what is popular. This is not selfishness, it is self-respect. Self-respect allows you to navigate life with steadiness, without being pulled by every opinion, every rumor, or every trend. The mind that is anchored in its own values experiences freedom. Letting go of approval also encourages acceptance of impermanence. You stop clinging to how others see you because you recognize that perception is fleeting and unstable. What others think today will not necessarily matter tomorrow. External validation is never permanent, and basing your peace on it is like building a house on sand. Shifting focus to what truly matters builds a foundation that endures, because it depends on principles, effort, and intention, all things within your control. This shift often begins with small actions, speaking your truth, even when it is unpopular, making choices that feel right rather than convenient, refusing to compromise your values for recognition. Each step reinforces independence from others' opinions, creating a mind that is stronger, calmer, and more aligned with itself. Over time, life feels more coherent, less scattered, and more meaningful. By freeing yourself from the need for approval, you reclaim your agency. Your time, energy, and attention are no longer dictated by others. You focus on what matters most: integrity, purpose, and growth. Life becomes a series of intentional choices, each one reinforcing the person you want to be rather than the image you think others want to see. This realignment quiets the mind, reduces anxiety, and gradually fills the inner emptiness that approval once amplified.